Ask any Pro Tour player on a quest to win a trophy and you'll probably hear this sentiment at some point. I'd rather be lucky than good. Competitive Magic leverages huge amounts of skill when determining the likely winner of a given event. Competitions are meant to find the best pilots, deck builders, and players with the mental energy to compete at their peaks round after round. Magic has luck in it, yes, but your skill and decision making are overwhelmingly more impactful to your success than running good, although you'll likely need both if you're going to go deep in a tournament. So what happens when two of the best players of an era, now two Magic Hall of Famers, and some of the best to ever do it meet in a mirror match? A match that they were seemingly destined to play from the beginning of the tournament. This whole series is a magnificent showcase of luck and skill, but like I said, it's usually better to be lucky, and this is the luckiest moment ever captured on camera at the Pro Tour. It's the semi-final of the 2007 World Championships in New York City, and two giants of the game are about to go head to head to determine which one of them is going to get their shot at becoming world champion, and which one will have their run and this close to the finish line. Michigan native Patrick Chapin, better known as the Innovator, is one of the top deck builders of all time, but in this era, he is the deck builder from the USA and one of the best constructed constructors in the world. Seriously, he literally wrote a book about it. His opponent is one of France's most successful gamers, let alone Magic players, although he's plenty good at that too. Gabriel Nassif, aka Yellow Hat, is a mainstay of the Pro Tour circuit still to this day, and the early 2000s had him racking up Pro Tour top 8s left and right. Put simply, Nassif is a master. He was the 2004 Player of the Year, despite a different player winning not one but two Pro Tours that season, and has the highest recorded constructed rating ever. He's a master deck builder, credited with a huge number of self-designed decks that he's seen success with as recently as the previous PT season in 2006. In fact, the deck he's wielding in this very semi-final he co-designed, and it's brought success to everyone that's had it in their hands this Worlds weekend. What's about to transpire is a match of Magic that's endlessly entertaining, culminating in one of the wildest, most unlikely, improbable, impossible exchanges that's ever been captured on film. Game 4 of this full 5-game semi-final is a game for the ages, and one that genuinely has to be seen to be believed. And wouldn't you know it, after barely winning the race and taking the first game, Patrick Chapin, who's happily bantering with his friend Gabriel Nassif, does the innocuous thing of saying the line.
Better lucky than good.
Better lucky than good, right? Patrick, you have no idea just how loaded of a quip that's gonna end up being. Now the deck in question is Dragonstorm, a fearsome combo deck from this era of Standard. Arguably just a year ago it was the best deck in the format, and if not, it was certainly one of the 3 best options you could bring to a Standard event in 2006. The Ravnica Time Spiral era is one of the most deck diverse Standard eras maybe ever, in large part thanks to the 2-color Guild Shocklands making the mana for every possible deck you could think of actually pretty good. Even with that diversity though, there were still S-tier decks, and Dragonstorm was among them. It won the 2006 World Championship in the hands of Makihito Mahara, and became one of the default decks to beat in Standard. Thanks to its eponymous card from Scourge getting reprinted on the Time Spiral bonus sheet, Standard had a legitimate, powerful combo deck as one of its pillars for the first time in a long time. A year later though, leading into this World Championships, and everyone thinks the deck is dead. Standard rotates by an entire 3-set block, a legal core set changes, and a number of pieces just fall away, leaving the deck not just a shell of its former self, but with so much of the core ripped away from it that the deck is presumably not just unplayable, but non-existent. Losing Ravnica meant losing Steam Vents, and losing smooth access to blue mana, which meant that all of your card selection power was gone too. By far the biggest blow though was losing Seething Song, which was the most souped up ritual effect you had access to in the format. As a reminder, this card is banned in Modern, and in fact 2006 was the last time Seething Song was ever legal in Standard, and when your namesake combo involves ramping to and casting a 9 mana sorcery, losing that explosiveness felt like it was the death knell for the strategy. Sure, you still had access to your best win condition in Bogan and Hellkite, and a solid ritual in Cold Snap's Rite of Flame, but losing both your best way to cheat on mana and your card selection really took the teeth out of the deck. It seemed that in this era of a newer, smaller Standard, spearheaded by the latest set Lorwyn, winning by mauling your opponents with Enters triggers off of your dragons was now a thing of the past. Now, Nassif is no stranger to breaking newer Standard formats, especially at World Championships. In 2006, just a year earlier, Nassif arguably broke the format in Paris, piloting an innovative Martyr of Sands life gain deck that commentator Randy Bueller rightfully praised during the quarterfinals coverage.
He and his boys got together, they worked for this Pro Tour, he wanted it in Paris, he wanted to get this top 8, and pulled it off, broke the format, has a very innovative Martyr of Sands.
A critical misjudgment though led to Nassif narrowly losing the 5th and final game of his series to, you guessed it, a surprise combo win from Mahara's Dragonstorm deck. Nassif is looking to repeat his success from last year and is already doing one better, making it through the quarters into the semis with a deck that seems unstoppable. The origin story of this deck is fascinating, by the way, both in how the designers were alerted to the critical missing piece and what personnel they chose to prepare with in the first place. As legend has it, the team was alerted to the deck concept at a side event at Grand Prix Daytona 3 weeks before the World Championships began. The team, by the way, might be one of the most legendary deck building groups to ever exist, especially impressive given how lean it was. Citing their preparation before the previous Pro Tour of the season in Valencia, the players wanted to massively refocus the group and just work on decks together in secret. For arguably the most important event of the season, brewing for basically a brand new standard format, the entire squad consisted of Nassif, Chapin, and 2006 Pro Tour Honolulu winner Marquise Herberholz. That was it. 3 of the best deck builders in the game all worked together to try and break the format, and they walked away absolutely dunking on the standard of the time. Granted, they shared the deck with some pretty notable players like John Finkel, Bob Maher, and David Williams, but all of the pilots walked away with stellar standard records, enough to propel 2 of them into the semi-finals. So what was the missing piece supposedly spotted at that side event? What single card could possibly resurrect such a powerful archetype that was missing so many key pieces? Turns out the Hideaway lands were hiding quite a secret in Lorwyn, and the card that made the entire deck hum was none other than Spinerock Knoll, otherwise known as the Gassy Knoll, because it always had the goods underneath it. The sheer elegance of this bit of deck design cannot be understated, because this single land drop somehow gave this new Dragonstorm everything it was missing back in a single slot. Not only did it let you cheat on mana if you hit a Dragonstorm under it, which was by far the high roll this deck was looking for, but actually looking at the top 4 cards of your deck functioned a lot like an impulse, giving you back a lot of the missing card selection that was lost when Steam Vents left the format. In order to accommodate this change, and due to the fact that playing blue was no longer as easy or as beneficial as it used to be, this Neo Dragonstorm deck became mono red and was filled to the brim with burn to help activate Spinerock Knoll. Riftbolt, Shock, Grapeshot, and even Tarfire all helped activate your Hideaway land, build Storm count for Dragonstorm, and even gave you an extra angle to win with through the Future Sight enchantment Pyromancer's Swath, which turbocharged your burn, particularly Grapeshot, to easily lethal levels. What looks like a mishmash of random red damage cards became a beautifully layered combo deck that blended Lotus Bloom, Rite of Flame, and good old-fashioned burn spells into a lethal storm deck that could laser you down with Grapeshot or send a legion of Bogan Hellkites into your face. And in Game 1, things went perfectly to plan for Patrick Chapin. Despite Nassif having all of the mana he needed to win a turn earlier, his deck did not deliver a business spell, and Chapin went off as smooth as butter with the Dragonstorm hiding under his turn 1 Knoll. As he quipped between games while the 2 players shuffled up, it's better to be lucky, and Nassif had certainly got a bit unlucky to not draw a win condition despite having the resources to outrace Chapin in the opening game. In Game 2, it was Nassif's turn to open with the vaunted turn 1 Spinerock Knoll, but it turned out not to matter too much. Even with Nassif having a ton of mana and an on-time Dragonstorm ready to go, he only had 2 dragons left in his deck, but after shooting Chapin for 10 and passing, Patrick was forced to use his burn to kill one of the dragons and still died to the attack in Nassif's remaining burn the following turn. It was Gabe's turn to get lucky this series, as Chapin's draw was just miserable, and the series evened up 1-1. To open Game 3, Nassif is faced with one of the most challenging decisions in any matchup, but one that's especially critical in a combo mirror like this, the Mulligan. After mulling over a hand that needs quite a bit of help, Nassif eventually keeps, and the coverage team is not about it.
He kept that draw. Really? Hellkite off the top helps, but why would he keep that draw?
And that game goes about as well as expected after that. Nassif does not hit what he needs, and Chapin navigates his way to a clean Pyromancer's Swath kill, not even needing his double Hideaway land to finish the 3rd game. Fun fact, the player who has played Spinerock Knoll has won every game so far, which doesn't really feel like a coincidence given how impactful the card is to the deck. Notably, no one has died to either of the sideboard Storm spells yet, Empty the Warrens or Ignite Memories, and this is the kind of matchup where that stuff can matter. While Empty isn't a guaranteed kill, it's much easier and faster to make a bunch of goblins and then try and get there, putting pressure on your combo opponent to either go off suboptimally or simply perish. Ignite Memories, on the other hand, is a blisteringly fast win condition depending on what your opponent has. Against decks with low curves, the expected damage from memories is terrible, but against slower decks like control decks, you can reasonably expect to one-shot someone with this niche spell. In this specific combo mirror, it has the capacity to be very good or very bad. Given that you have hits like Lotus Bloom and Rite of Flame and key cards like Dragonstorm that players are often holding until the end of the game, you can get under a bigger combo turn by storming off with Ignite Memories if you can play enough spells and hit the right cards. Generally though, the thought process is that it's a reliable enough win condition that has the potential to be so much faster than your core combos that both players are looking to win with it in these sideboarded games. Thankfully, by the time Game 4 rolls around, Ignite Memories will finally make an appearance. One so memorable that it will come to define not only this semi-final, but the tournament at large. The best deck builders going head to head with a deck that broke the expected metagame for this World Championship is about to come to a head in one of the most incredible ways possible. This may very well be the luckiest sequence ever caught on camera. Let's dive in. To start with, Nassif is going to begin the pregame by getting extremely unlucky, starting off with a mulligan to 6, and Chapin, who is already up 2-1, can start to see that seat in the finals.
Chapin puts his hand down. Oh, Nassif is going to Paris. Nassif mulligans his draw to 6. Chapin can start to feel it.
He's looking over at the top. Look at him.
He's looking at the
over
other
at the other match.
Importantly, this era of Standard is still using the Paris mulligan rule instead of the modern day one. This rule simply said that you may cash in your starting hand for another, but you get one less card. You don't get to see more, do any scrying, or any of the other things the mulligan rule would evolve into, so each subsequent mulligan is so much more punishing than the last, especially compared to the current day, and it's not great there either. Nassif, unfortunately, will feel this to almost the full extent of the rule as he goes all the way down to 4 cards to begin the game, with no games left to lose. Finally, after keeping their hands, the game gets underway and Nassif is fighting for his life off the top of the deck. Chapin misses a land drop early and Nassif starts bantering away, something that's been happening basically all series but has been ramping up throughout this game in particular.
Just gonna lose to mulligan to 4.
Not losing. I got 3 turns.
That's how bad you are.
Nassif knows he has to get lucky to win and eventually finds a Lotus Bloom, and that starts the timer for Patrick Chapin. He knows he needs to win before Lotus Bloom unsuspends, as the likelihood Nassif can get there once it comes into play is just too much of a risk to take. So Chapin finds a window, sets himself up to go off the turn before the Lotus Bloom would come off suspend, and starts rattling off spells. Rift Bolt, Rite of Flame, Tarfire you, Grapeshot you for 4. Nassif is at 9 life now, and Chapin has exactly 5 mana left over, and he's about to make maybe the most iconic announcement of a spell ever, but not for the reasons we'd normally think.
I have 5 in my pool. Ignite Memories for 5.
Ignite Memories for 5. Nassif has 3 cards in his hand, so every roll of the die Chapin's holding will randomly choose one of the 3 cards in his hand, and he's going to take damage for its mana value 5 different times, each time repicking the random card. The first die rolls and reveals Grapeshot. Nassif takes 2. If the other 4 rolls hit this card every time, Nassif's tournament is done. Another roll, another Grapeshot. Now Nassif's at 5.
Kills it out.
What is it? What is it?
You have how many copies left?
3 more. Oh, this is the third. 2 more.
Great shot. He's still in it. It's got to be right. Can Nassif go runner?
2 more copies.
Nassif still got a shot. 2 copies left.
1 in 27.
Nassif knows it.
2 more copies?
No, 2. This and 1 more.
Nassif's got a shot.
I mean,
He's
4
hit
more
Rite of
copies.
Flame, and then Nassif
1 in 9. 1 in 9 shots.
Grapeshot again. Nassif goes to 3. 4th copy of Ignite, 4th die roll, and this time Nassif just slams it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4.
Yes! Oh, he's still alive!
I want to one more time.
Chapin can't believe this is happening.
Rite of Flame. Nassif goes to 2 life. We already know that Grapeshot is one of the 3 cards in Nassif's hand, so unless the 3rd unseen card is another 1-drop or a 0, the remaining possible hits will finish the game and send Patrick Chapin through to the semi-finals. One more randomly picked card left, and as a reminder, if Chapin doesn't win here, he's almost certainly going to lose this game to Nassif's incoming combo turn. Thankfully, Nassif and Chapin are no strangers to showmanship, and the last Ignite Memories reveal is slammed onto the table.
No peeking. I gotta see 2.
Slam it.
Oh my goodness! Gabriel Nassif survives 5 copies of Ignite Memories. He's got 1 point of life left. Pat Chapin was looking at that scene in the finals. He thought he had it. Those odds were absurd.
On the mulligan to 4.
Nassif dodges for the final time, barely surviving the incoming swath of damage at exactly 1 life. Unbelievable. His last unseen card, by the way? His own copy of Ignite Memories, which if you're doing the math at home, given that he was at 9 life to start the sequence, would have ended the game on the spot if Chapin had ever hit it. Not only did Gabe have to dodge the 1 in 3 every single roll to not lose, but he had very few other sequences that kept him alive in that spot. So many different possibilities, and in the end, it's the most improbable that sees Nassif survive the storm, untap, and pay Chapin right back with his own Ignite Memories for 5. Chapin double checks the math before simply turning over his hand to give Nassif the good news. Bogut and Hellkite, Bogut and Hellkite, Dragonstorm. Unlike Nassif, there is no magical sequence that saves him here. He is deterministically dead, and Nassif's bad luck that began the game with a mulligan to 4 turns into one of the luckiest sequences ever played out at the Pro Tour, in a game that rightfully gets dubbed an instant classic. And while no game in this series, if any, in Magic's competitive history could look to top the game this 2007 New York crowd has witnessed, the final game does not disappoint in terms of tension and drama, as the breakout deck of the tournament, piloted by 2 of its creators, comes to a head one last time. With Chapin on the play, both draws are explosive but are also missing some pieces. Chapin plays a Lotus Bloom on turn 1, something that was actually atypical of this deck, as suspending on turn 2 made getting to Dragonstorm mana significantly easier, but in this matchup costs time that neither player can afford. Nassif responds by suspending no fewer than 3 copies of Lotus Bloom on his first turn, once again putting the clock on Chapin to go off early. After Nassif misses a land drop and both players try and prepare for their incoming combo turns, Chapin's Bloom unsuspends, and he's faced once again with a tough decision, whether or not he should try and steal this last game with Ignite Memories now, or look to disrupt Nassif's artifact mana with his sideboard Ancient Grudge. As Randy Bueller puts it, what are you playing here, Pat? Offense or defense?
Well, he can shock. He can shock Ignite for 4.
How many cards in your hand?
4.
And there's a Dragonstorm and a Hellkite Shock, so Shock Ignite for 4 actually has a shot here. But then he's off the Ancient Grudge play. Like,
Correct.
if that play fails, Chapin's got to decide whether he's on offense or defense.
He's
He
gonna
can go on offense.
You can see if the Ignite Memories equals out this game.
After tanking for a while, he decides that his dream of being world champion is more likely to be realized by going on offense and rolling the dice once again and hoping to navigate Nassif's incoming Lotuses. So once more, with an Ignite Memories for 4 this time targeting Nassif, we're back to rolling dice and flipping over cards. Call it 50-50 this time. Nassif has 2 small cards and 2 very big cards, and he'll need to dodge thrice in order to escape this time. Surely Nassif can't get that lucky twice.
How much did the odds go down if he keeps the
3, 4.
if he keeps the ball?
Helps. I mean, it goes from Chapin goes from a favorite to a dog. There it is, Pat Chapin. Ignite Memories let him down in the first game, but the second time
You didn't need to play the rest
it
of it.
works.
He cannot. Nassif can't outrun the storm this time, and Chapin's judgment call to try and win now and his explosive combo mirror pays off, as he is the last Dragonstorm player left in the World Championships, 1 match away from potentially being crowned World Champion. Ultimately, the finals would prove to be the last stop for the innovative mono-red Dragonstorm deck, as Yuri Pelik would take a historic win with his Doran deck that proved to have just the right combination of disruption and pressure to undo Chapin, Nassif, and Heathy's otherwise domineering combination of cards. There's no neat narrative bow to this story, one where Chapin finally won his first Pro Tour level event, or where Nassif triumphed after his almost impossible escape under pressure from Ignite Memories, but it does serve as an important reminder. Magic is a game, and at the end of the day, even at the highest stakes, things are supposed to be fun. And watching 2 masters, innovators, and friends unleash their creation upon the world while still bantering in the semifinals that culminated in one of the most entertaining series that we've ever seen, that's pure entertainment, and it's nice to be reminded that that's all we need sometimes. Thanks for watching, everyone. Is this the luckiest Magic moment ever captured on camera? You can let me know if you think so down in the comments below. And if you want to see more novel approaches to formats at the Magic Pro Tour, you can check out this video where 2 PTQ winners took over an entire event with slivers of all things.